We can try to change a situation, we can try to influence another person, we can try to influence a system, but then if it doesn't change, then ultimately we have to decide, will we just stay in the system and accept it or move on?
Welcome to Created Creative. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ruth. And today we're doing something different. We've never done this before.
No, but I like when podcasts do it.
Today we're talking about a book that a lot of people are reading these days, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Yeah, I feel around my area, I've heard a lot of people talking about this book. Do you feel like you're hearing this book being discussed quite a bit too?
Yes, I'm hearing it discussed. I run in those circles a little bit, kind of life coach adjacent circles. I follow her a little. She had a talk show before the pandemic. I was in the studio audience. I went to the ABC studios or something, or CBS, not NBC. It was on Upper West Side.
Yeah.
She was like laser coaching people on it.
What does that mean, laser coaching?
Like what I do at the end of episodes.
Zeroing in on a certain, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I never watched any episode other than the one where I was live, but she had a topic for the day and arranged a guest who was dealing with that issue.
Okay, cool. I didn't become familiar with her until a couple years ago. I started seeing her, I'm sure it was like on TikTok or something when she started doing TikToks. I'm like, oh, she's interesting. And then I started hearing her being a guest on different podcasts. And then now she has her own.
You know, when I'm just jumping right in, she was like, somebody else has more fame or success, let them, because they can give you a map. I was like, okay, what's your map with your podcast? There are steps to having a bigger footprint, helping more people. You can show us how.
I thought about that too when she said that. I'm like, yeah, the blueprint. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just figure out what steps have been taken. I think we're doing that now. I do have some questions, and I thought we could see where they take us.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Robbins summarized the let them theory as when you let them do whatever it is that they want to do, it creates more control and emotional peace for you and a better relationship with the people in your life. After reading this book, do you agree or disagree with this thesis statement?
Yes. I do have a couple people in my life I was too caught up in their choices and finding my way through how much to just allow it and still be supportive for them.
Very much. This has reminded me, especially in church circles, thinking about systems theory too. And
thank you, Reverend Dr. Hetland.
But I remember when I studied systems theory, in some ways that helped me remain in the ministry to realize that all I could control was myself. And that's what this theory comes down to as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
That all we can control ultimately is what we do. And I can't make someone happy or unhappy.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing to sort out when you're like, I should have been able to lead the people to X. By now, they have to choose to get on board or not. You can't solve everything for them. Finding your way into how do I lead? How do I be involved, a non-anxious presence for their emotional lives, their spiritual lives, but also let them have the struggle because you can't solve it.
Yeah. When I was reading the book, I tended to think of it more personally, but just in thinking about churches, there's so many ways we could apply this as well. Were the ideas in the book new to you, or did they feel like common knowledge? Or a third option, did the ideas feel simple, yet still provoke a mindset shift?
Her brilliance is she is gathering wisdom that's out there, and she put it into super simple terms that I've been able to work into conversation since reading the book.
Yeah, I agree.
These ideas are out there.
And I really like how she takes so many of her personal experiences, things people can relate to. And as she's learning, she's sharing the knowledge. She's able to boil it down to make it very helpful and accessible.
Yeah, it's helpful she hasn't always been in the wellness or self-help profession. Her life experiences are from a whole other world that I think a lot of people can identify with.
Yeah, very much so. Have there been any instances in your life when letting go of expectations and control led to a positive outcome for you?
That's so big and hard.
No, that is hard.
I just went through the gauntlet of preschool admissions and you do all the work, but it did lead to a positive outcome that once I had done all the many steps of admissions, I did let go, let them pick her or not pick her. Similar to when I auditioned for a show, there's a point where you can't control the outcome anymore. That's more let go than let them, but let them make their decision. I'm not going to keep noodling on it.
Exactly. All that would do is bring your headspace into a lesser place. There comes a point where you just have to let go or let them. Thinking about how, because it starts with let them, ultimately it comes down to let me.
Yeah.
We can try to change a situation. We can try to influence another person. We can try to influence a system. But then if it doesn't change, then ultimately we have to decide, will we just stay in the system and accept it or move on?
That's a theme of my book. I tried to influence my family of origin. It was unhealthy for me, and I finally had to step away. Painful, but the best thing for me.
Yeah, I can see that operating in different churches I've served too. There comes a point where you feel like, okay, I did everything I can do. Do I stay or am I being called to something else?
I see a lot of, especially women who I coach, think they have to stay and take care of everyone past the point where it's not redeemable. The situation has devolved too far, and they're like, I should be able to fix it. I should be able to take care of these people. I wouldn't want to ask my family to move.
Yeah.
And men don't do that.
Even if the church is a fine place, but you're not evolving. Like if you feel that
the chapter is over.
The chapter's over. I've felt that countless times, but I love them. But still, you can feel that pull. No, it's time to go. Yeah.
Well, good thing you're interim now. When you feel the pull, you're just like, I'm out.
Right. Being an interim helps. It's easier to be let them when you're in an interim, because then it really doesn't matter if they're happy with me. It's really not my job at all to make anybody happy. It's just my job to come in and do what I'm called to do. And I don't take it so personally as an interim as I used to in a long-term call.
How do we let them with the federal government?
That's a good question. Let me move to Canada.
If you can.
Right.
People don't.
No.
People do not do that.
No, I was
Mostly.
joking.
Yeah, exactly.
If my kids were younger, maybe that we all have ties.
Although on last week's episode, you did talk to Canada about any opening.
Yeah, it's like the older your kids get and the more attached you get to a place and your community, the harder it is to just be like, screw this, I'm leaving.
Totally.
And also, I think it's a beautiful thing to try to stay and be part of the change too. So then, do you have an answer for that question in your mind?
I'm not saying it's the answer. It's my answer.
Uh-huh.
I have a couple very limited news sources. Like Heather Cox Richardson sends a pretty long email every night. It's an overview written in the style of a history book.
Wonderful.
I glance through the New York Times before I do a puzzle.
Yes.
I am staying informed enough to be a good citizen, do what I need to do, but also beyond like a call to my senator, one conversation with somebody who really is working through things, making sure I'm prepared if I am on the subway car that ICE enters.
Yeah.
White women have a position of power in that situation. Other than that, I'm not caught up in it. I find the 5-minute thing, how do I need to be prepared? Can I advocate for someone? Can I add my voice to something? 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Not part of my day. It is not yanking me around. I'm not engaging in a lot of conversation around it. I'm letting them, and I'm keeping in my circle of influence, not my circle of concern. I need to right now. I'm with a toddler all day.
Right. The last couple of weeks with the virus and everything, it was all I could do to tend to my health. I couldn't let my mental space be taken up with our government right now. You have to balance everything, right? Take care of your daughter and life and all these things too.
Yes. And I am aware what we're saying in some circles could get us canceled. Like we're not engaged enough.
I know.
I heard a sociologist, and I actually went back through my history and tried to figure out where I saw them on Instagram. But she was saying the far left has overlaps with cult behavior. This whole, you have to be fully engaged or you're against us. And you're not allowed to ask questions. You need to do your own research. If you're not for us, you're against us. And you must be all worked up all the time, towing the party line. That's cult behavior. I'm just being a general informed citizen and resisting the cult. And that will make me unpopular to some people who are more engaged in different ways.
There has to be a balance between caring for yourself like self-care so you're able to care. I've been listening to that new book by Martha Beck on anxiety and creativity, and she was talking about how Jeff Bezos would tell the workers that he wants them to be terrified all the time because he feels like that's the best way to get the most work out of people is to be terrified all the time. And I'm like, that doesn't seem good for anybody.
No, it's saying you probably will quit in 6 months to a year, but I can get more people. You're expendable.
You're just a cog in the machine, and there's more of those out there.
Yeah. Joy is an act of resistance, right?
Mm-hmm. And there has to be a balanced approach where you can tend to your life, but also care. I think that's a good approach. You stay informed, but there's also boundaries so it doesn't consume everything. It can so easily become all-consuming right now.
Well, and that is one definition of burnout is being very consumed about a system over which you have no power. That can happen in a workplace or elsewhere, or a teenage child, various aspects of their behavior or something where you get consumed by something you cannot control. Yeah. It's despair.
That's a helpless feeling when you don't feel any control, and it can so easily lead to burnout. We see that with our ministers. How about this? There are exceptions to every rule. What do you think the exceptions to the let them theory are, and when might it not be appropriate?
When the 2-year-old found the drawer of matches.
Oh, yeah. I'm very much in a different stage of parenting right now, but their brains aren't fully developed either.
They seem like adults.
I know. They're both taller than me, and I know that I have to be giving them some space to be making their own decisions for sure. Right. But I weigh that all the time. They're not doing things like I would, but how much do I let them learn the hard way, and how much do I guide? I need a parenting coach right now.
Someone I coached was working more when her kids were younger, and then once they were teenagers, she was like, this is when they need me.
When they take time to sit and talk to you when they're this age, it's like, oh, everything else can wait because you know it's...
I will not move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I don't care what time it is. I'm here. Those times are a lot more rare now that they'll want to sit and talk. What's actually really important when they do.
So you let them?
Yes, I let them talk and I listen.
Yeah.
Can you think of other situations where it might not be appropriate to apply?
The federal government, we don't want to just let them. We want to make sure those who have been deputized on our behalf are doing it. So I guess checking in, not just let them.
And she does talk about if people are going to harm themselves.
I read if someone is being racially profiled on a bus,
Mm.
don't talk to the bully, talk to the target person and say, I think you live in my building, and show the bully they have an ally, and then even get off the bus with them.
I like that. Yeah.
Isn't that so smart? You're not even talking to the scary person. You're just aligning with the targeted person, and then you get off when they get off. I'm on there with a toddler, but I could do that.
That's smart to be looking for ways you can be of help. There are lots of ways we can be of help. Like right now, as we are recording this, it's the whole don't buy from big box stores.
Yes, as you brought up Jeff Bezos a moment ago.
It's something we can do just to feel like we're in it together, those of us who are doing that right now.
Yes, that boycott is showing them we are a group. It's like the same reason people march in the streets, to know you're not alone in it. You find the other people, you feel a sense of camaraderie, it builds community around your cause.
Yes. There was a march a few years ago in Fargo, the Women's March. In this area, sometimes you can feel like, who are my people? Where are my people? But then to go there, there were a lot of people, and it felt really good to be part of that.
It's about the human spirit, so you can keep going.
Exactly.
So How to Be Brave, that should be the next book, Bishop Marianne.
That would be good.
Because it's about these small acts. You don't know when your moment will come, but you have to be strong when it comes.
Okay. How does letting others be autonomous affect your own mental well-being? I think that's everything, isn't it? Because you never were going to change them anyway.
But we want to think like,
yeah. Putting all this mental energy, feeling helpless, that's draining.
So where's the line between you start a call and you see possibility and you're excited about where you see them going? You're involved in changing them, and also you can't change anyone. Where's the line? I have thoughts, but what do you think?
Oh, I think it's always a case of doing what you can do and seeing what the Spirit does with that too. Okay, does it seem like the vision that I have is lining up with what is actually going to happen here and where the energy's going. And when it does, it can be so beautiful. But if it doesn't, being able to let go and move on and to not feel like a failure, because sometimes it's just not the time.
I feel like we need to normalize leaving after 2 years. 2 years is enough to be like, I'm just not seeing it. I got to know everyone. It is not happening.
And I think, and you and I have talked about this, about how women hang on so much longer because we don't like to give up on things.
Well, and they'll even say, you're supposed to say 3 years in your first call, but if it's terrible, why are you there? So we're saying you must be abused another 12 months if it's like that far. It's just a misalignment, a bit boring. But
Yeah.
when abusive, people still think, oh, but I shouldn't leave before 3 years or 5 years. My last 3 calls have been only 3 years. I'm like, maybe you need a therapist, but also maybe you are getting assigned 3 really rough churches. Let's talk about both of those things.
Yeah. Right.
Not that you need to stay in a terribly abusive system just to have it look good.
And time is just so precious. 3 years is a long time if you're miserable. It's a really long time.
Yes.
And lately, when I meet someone who leaves a call after 1 or 2 years, I just say, good for you for moving on, because my first calls, I was totally in that time of you stay 3 years or else. And I felt like I would be letting everybody down if I didn't.
Right. Or you looked weak.
Yeah, I was so worried about that. But time is precious and it goes fast. And you can tell you have to trust yourself enough to be like, no, this is not working.
Don't you think a lot of people don't trust themselves enough? Including me in certain situations.
Oh, totally. I know I used to not trust myself, but that gets better as time goes by.
Yeah, because you have data.
Yeah. Let's see. How can you differentiate between offering support and trying to control someone's decisions?
I learned this from Dr. Becky Kennedy,
Okay.
who's actually, I may have mentioned her on this podcast already. I bring her up a lot. In terms of 2-year-olds, that's why I'm listening. She has advice that seems to apply to all adults, all people. But a 2-year-old, she's always in the stroller. If I take her out and she wants to walk on a sidewalk in New York City, there's traffic, there's other people.
Yeah.
So she's able to walk with me, great. If she runs away, I say, you need to walk with me. If you can't stay with me, I'm going to put you in the stroller. I have to keep you safe. We can try again tomorrow. I'm not saying you better get it together. You better learn self-control in the next 2 minutes or you're going to be hit by a car. I'm saying, okay, we weren't ready for this. This is what I will do. Boundaries are saying, if you do this, this is what I am going to do. You do not need to do a single different thing. It's helpful for all humans. If you are treating me badly or this situation isn't what I expected, you do not need to change a thing. Just know that I will be leaving or doing something different. It's so helpful. And I have hung on to that for the past 6 to 12 months since I heard that as a difference between boundaries and control. And boundaries is the let them theory. Control is a difference.
Yes, I love that. That was Dr. Becky Kennedy.
Yeah, she's a child psychologist in New York City, Upper West Side.
Okay, excellent. What are some potential consequences of not applying the let them theory in your life? Oofda.
Never trusting yourself.
And never giving others the respect of letting them be in charge of their own life, you know?
Oh, yeah, you're taking something away from them.
I think not practicing this theory would look a lot like my first year as a pastor.
Oh, you have learned to get out.
Yeah, where I was trying so hard to make people see and understand. And if anybody didn't get along, I just took it to heart. It was my fault. It's all my fault. No, they're making their own decisions. Thank goodness I've evolved. Let's see. Can you think of a time when letting someone else take charge led to a positive outcome?
No.
No.
I'm sure it happens all the time.
I'm sure.
Sort of just decide what things are mine. I'm thinking about when I choreograph musical. I sit down with the director, which things are dancing and which are movement to the music. And I just have to stay in my lane, disengage from any opinion about it.
Yeah, I find churches to be a lot that way too. There's certain things that I know that as the pastor, I want to be in charge of: Bible study, preaching, and certain things to do with worship. But if the social concerns committee decides to fall apart, that's their committee.
Let them.
Yeah, let them.
Yeah.
If the quilters aren't meeting regularly, that's their committee.
Right. It's not up to you to prop up every single community building activity or social justice.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of times, especially when I first started, I felt the burden of I've got to keep everything going that was going before. And if it's not still going when I leave, then it's my fault.
Yeah. You're a program director who is responsible. for keeping everything not only surviving, but thriving and changing.
If I couldn't find someone excited to lead Sunday school, it was either a terrible thing or I had to do it myself. But no, maybe the Sunday school program has to die. Maybe it has to look different. All of this comes down to we can only control ourselves. And that's a good message for personal and professional.
We can only control ourselves, and my highest core value is community. And yet being a part of the community does not mean that they are all going to be exactly like you or that you can control them. You're not part of the community to influence. You come as your own strong person with a sense of self. And then you are with these people, not from neediness, but from we all contribute. And in your case, when you go into the hospital, everybody is like, this is our moment. Just circle the wagons.
Oh my gosh.
But it's not like you didn't control these people who brought you dinner.
And mostly I felt, gosh, I hope I can be that kind of support for other people when they end up in the hospital, because that's what I can control. I can't control who came to see me, but I can control that I'm the kind of person that goes to see other people and that I show up with love.
Show up.
Yeah. So it's valuable to give ourselves that relief of knowing all I have to worry about is what I'm up to, not what so-and-so is up to, or just take care of my own stuff and try to be as good a part of society as I can be.
So if you'd like to use our discussion questions for your book group on Let Them, where they have a just slight more faith lens, we'll phrase them a little bit more for maybe faith group, go to our website and let them.
Yeah, they will be there. And yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts about the book. Send us a message, your thoughts or questions you wish we had talked about.
Go create something.
Go create something.